All right, good morning and welcome to the Screwtape Letters, Letter 3 summary. Letter 3 is all about the annoyances that the patient experiences with living with his mother. So he's lived with his mother for many years, and Screwtape is instructing Wormwood how to exploit these annoyances that happen naturally when we live with someone for many years. So I thought this letter was very timely for us who are now in homes living with people most of our day, with people that we've lived with for a long time, right? Myself included. Mr. West and I are here buckled down in our house, and yeah, it's a lot of time to be with someone, and there are annoyances that we fall into. So Screwtape encourages Wormwood to work with Glubose. Remember, Glubose is a demon in charge of tempting his mother to exploit these annoyances. So there's 4 tactics that Screwtape presents. First of all, he wants the patient to focus on himself, keep his mind on the inner life. He thinks his conversion is something inside of him. So teach him to neglect the things that are obvious that are outside of himself. So not thinking about what his mom needs, not thinking about, what our family members need, but just thinking about ourselves. And not to think about our shortcomings, but to think about just how spiritual and how great his conversion is. So he can practice self-examination for an hour without discovering any of the facts about himself, which are perfectly clear to anyone who has ever lived with him for a short time. So first thing is to keep us focused on just us, the things that we think we do well, not on others who need our help, and not on the things that we are falling short in. Second, he's going to pray, right? He just converted. He's going to pray, but if he's going to pray, keep his prayers very spiritual, since when we talk about the soul, especially this patient who's a new convert to Christianity, he's not quite sure what that means, so keep it spiritual. Pray for the state of her soul and not with her rheumatism. So not about the actual things that she needs in her body, as well as her soul, but again, the patient's going to have a misconception of the soul here. He talks about how there's 2 advantages that follow. The first place his attention will be kept on what he regards as her sins. By which, with a little guidance from you, he can be induced to mean any of her actions which are inconvenient or irritating to himself. So, if I'm praying for Mr. West and in a spiritual sense, and I'm, talking about his quote-unquote soul, and I, pray that he is freed from all these sins that he has, and by sins I just mean things that annoy me, I'm not actually praying for him, right? If I prayed for him as he is, or for the things that he actually needs, the physical and spiritual things that he actually needs, that's going to be the right type of prayer. Secondly, to create almost this imaginary view of his mother. So when he talks about his mother, it's his idea of his perfect mom, and he's praying for that person instead of his actual mother there. So that's the second way Wormwood is going to tempt the patient away from true prayer. Thirdly, to dig into the things that the other person does that annoys the patient. So again, here we are at home with our families. I, lived at home for 18 years. There were things that my siblings did that just drove me crazy. It can be tones of voice, expressions of face, which are just so frustrating to someone else. Mr. West likes to fidget with things, and that really just annoys me. But I need to recognize that he's not doing it to annoy me, right? That's where the demons would dig in and say, well, he's doing this on purpose just to drive you crazy. You told him it drove you crazy, and he's still doing it, right? That's not necessarily true. So remember, Screwtape is telling Wormwood how to drag this person to hell. So when we read this, we need to think about, how can I do the opposite thing? How can I be more patient with the people that I am living with when they do things that annoy me? The fourth tactic is to create a double standard of expectations for both the patient and the mother. So, sometimes it's not what we say, it might be how we say it, or the moment that we say something, and how this double standard, so that I expect you to take my utterances, my words at face value and judge on the actual words, but at the same time, misjudging everyone else's words towards me. So it's this double standard, interpreting tone as negative and whatnot, to create this habit where each person feels justified in themselves and their own actions, but thinks the other person is acting hurtful or purposefully annoying towards you. Right? And then at the very end, he talks about the old lady's religious position, right? Is she at all jealous of this new factor in her son's life, his conversion to Christianity? Does she feel he's making it a great fuss of it? Remember the elder brother in the enemy story. So he's referring here to the prodigal son. So if you remember, the younger son took his dad's inheritance, spent it all on prostitutes and just having a good time and partying, and he ends up working for this pig farmer, which is the lowest of the low for Jews, and wants to eat his fill of the scraps. So he comes home to apologize to his dad, and his dad embraces him and throws a party for him. And now prodigal is actually not talking about the younger one. It's talking about the older one. Prodigious, that's hardness of heart, right? So the prodigal son is actually about the son who doesn't come in to celebrate his brother, who is upset at his dad for letting this younger brother come back into the family. And so he's trying to play that with the mom. Is she feeling jealous that, maybe she's been faithful all these years and her son is just converted after his life of, whatever. And now he gets all these graces. So to work on that jealousy between them and that envy, right? We talked about envy and jealousy. So that's letter 3. If you have any questions, please email me, post somewhere on Google Classroom. The question for letter 3 is a little bit more personal, so I'm totally fine if you answer in a private comment or email me that.